from 1961 and a top 10 hit for our guest today, James Darren. That was Goodbye, Cruel World. As a singer, actor, and director, Mr. Darren's legacy in film, television, and music stretches over 50 years and includes classic films such as The Guns of Navarone, Gidget, and classic television like The Time Tunnel, The Donna Reed Show, and some new classics like Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Mr. James Darren, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, thank you, Dave. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. You know, recently I was talking with Bobby Rydell.
Oh, that's my buddy.
Yeah, we were talking about the amazing talent pool of Philadelphia.
Yeah, pretty amazing. You know, Bobby and I live next door to one another in Philly.
Really?
Yeah, in South Philly. Yeah, we were born next door to one another on 11th and Moy-Mensing Avenue. Yeah, unreal. I mean, there is so much talent. There's a new mural that's going up, I think, in the middle of this month. And the person they left off, well, there's a few people they left off, but like Gamble and Huff and Mario Lanza, unfortunately, I mean, they're pretty big names in the recording business. But they have Avalon and Fabian and Chubby Checker and, of course, Bobby, who had a zillion hits, Eddie Fisher, a whole bunch of guys.
Something in the water, I guess.
That's what Ed Sullivan asked me.
Right. But you obviously wanted to get into acting because you went to New York City to study acting. Yeah,
I saw Stella Adler's name in a magazine, and just pursued it. Just signed up. I actually went to New York and auditioned for the class, filled out whatever I had to fill out, and studied with her for about 2 years, and then got a lucky break. Everything is timing. You be in the right place at the right time. And I had just about completed 2 years with Stella, and I needed photographs because I'd asked her about agents. She said, well, you can get agents, but you need pictures, and
sure,
et cetera. And I was walking down Broadway, and I randomly chose this photographer whose name is Maurice Seymour. I mean, and there's a zillion of them on Broadway. And after the photos were taken, his secretary, Yvonne Bouvier, said she knew someone, was I interested in getting into films? And of course I said yes. And she said, I know someone who can help you, and that was Joyce Selznick. But it's bizarre because you think, like I said, everything is timing and being at the right place at the right time. If I had gone to any other photographer, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And Joyce got me my contract with Columbia Pictures, which started my entire career.
And hence your music came out on the Colpix label.
Right, that was Columbia Pictures, right? Colpix,
right.
Columbia Pictures.
Now, of course, you played Moondoggie in the original Gidget movie from 1959, and for my money, the very definition of cute is Sandra Dee, just adorable in that picture.
The most beautiful person. She was just a delightful human being. I loved Sandy, and she was the perfect Gidget. What can I tell you?
Oh, yeah.
And, the other people, Cindy Carroll and Deborah Wally, who played Gidget as well, they brought their own thing to it. But to me, Sandra was the best.
Hi.
That was James Darren with the song Gidget, 1959, right here on the Vintage Rock and Pop Shop. Mr. Darren is our guest today. Now, when you were cast in The Guns of Navarone, were they taking kind of a risk with you because you'd just come from Gidget?
No, actually, Carl Foreman, who wrote and produced The Guns of Navarone, wanted me because I had done Gidget.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, they want to cover the field, so they bring in an actor who was, in a teenage hit, so to speak.
Carl Foreman's The Guns of Navarone. The greatest high adventure of our time. With a cast as exciting as the story it tells. Gregory Peck. David Niven, Anthony Quinn, Stanley Baker, Anthony Quayle, James Darren.
You must have felt as if you kind of hit the jackpot with that movie. I mean, Gregory Peck, I mean, legendary names.
You know, it's interesting because when we started that film, the schedule was 3 months or 3.5 months, and we were shooting on the island of Rhodes. And we were going to make the move to London, which we did, but the set of the guns, which was huge, like a city block long, or almost anyway, collapsed. It just collapsed. So we ended up filming for 7 months in that movie.
Wow.
And with Gregory and Niven, especially Gregory. I was pretty close to Gregory Peck and to Tony Quinn as well, and Stanley Baker. Those were my guys because they were like the street guys, you know. And David Niven and Anthony Quayle were, you know, much more conservative,
right?
You know, but it was nice to spend all that time with those wonderful actors and just wonderful people as well. You know, 7 months was like a family.
There's a story about learning to play chess.
Well, Anthony Quinn. In fact, I told this story a couple of days ago. I told it. I was at Nancy Sinatra's house, not to drop names, yesterday. Nancy Sr. and Nancy Jr. was there, of course, and my godchild, her daughter, AJ, and AJ's daughter, Miranda. So I'm telling you the story about Anthony Quinn because little Miranda, my godchild's daughter, is now learning. She's 5, and she's learning chess. And I said, gee, Tony Quinn taught me how to play chess, and I beat him. And man, that ticked him off. I mean, he was so upset. Well, he was more upset because Carl Foreman and Stanley Baker were standing behind him, razzing him, saying, "Oh my God, the kid beat you? I can't believe it!" And Tony went nuts. And actually, we didn't speak for about 2 weeks. He wouldn't talk to me. We had this real confrontation. I mean, it was terrible. And they used to show us films once or twice a week on the location because there's nothing else to do. And Tony was standing at the back of this makeshift theater, and I walked up to him. I put my arm around him, and I said, "Are we really not going to speak ever again because of that silly game? Are we?" And he grabbed me, you know, and give me a hug and kiss on the cheek, and of course, then we were close again. I went to Rome with him. He was a great guy. He was a terrific guy. Great actor too.
Well, you better let your goddaughter beat you in chess when she gets pretty good.
She probably could at this point. I mean, she's 5 and she's doing pretty well.
Now, I know that someone you spent a great deal with and was a big part of your career, and people might be surprised if they don't know this, is Buddy Hackett.
Oh, the best.
Yeah.
Buddy Hackett was the best. I went to see Nancy Sinatra at the Coconut Grove in Los Angeles, and Buddy Hackett walked up to my table and introduced himself and asked me what I was doing. I told him I was playing clubs and state fairs and things like that. I had just finished the Time Tunnel. Well, not just, but you know, it was like 3 years after that. So he said, "How would you like to work with me?" And I said, "Gee, I'd love it." You know, my wife and I are sitting there, but he said, "Okay, I'll have my representative call you." So when he left, I told my wife, I said, "Boy, it's a good thing I'm wearing boots because the doo-doo in this town comes up to your knees," I said. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, I got a call from this gentleman, Paul, who was Buddy's attorney, and I worked with Buddy from 1970 to 1982.
Wow.
12 consecutive years with the exception of 1 week, and I absolutely love Buddy. I mean, everything I know about live performance, I learned from Buddy Hackett, including what songs to sing. Because he'd tell me, he'd say, "You know what, you're like a romantic image, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Sing romantic songs. What are you singing this junk for?" And he was right. He was 100% right. That's what the people want, and you know, that's what they want from me anyway.
Now, I know you were friendly with, and still friendly with, the Sinatra family, and obviously Frank Sinatra had to be a gigantic influence on you.
Oh, my goodness, yeah, sure. I mean, from when I was, 15, 16 years old, I mean, I used to play Frank's records on the jukebox in South Philly at 10th and Wolf Street, where I used to hang out. And, Frank was a giant influence, absolutely.
Now, did he ever hear you sing? Did he ever sing?
Yeah, sure. He was amazing. He came in, I was at Nancy's house, this is years back, and Frank came over to visit, and he said, "Hey, I just heard your song, All." I said, "What?" "I just heard your song, All. Great tune. Great record." I'm thinking, Jesus, Frank Sinatra listens to the radio? You don't think of that.
Right.
But yeah, oh, sure, he knew. Yeah, God, he knew everything about everybody. Trust me. He knew everything. He was aware of every singer, no matter how small you thought you were, Mm-hmm. Frank knew you. Yeah, he knew all this stuff. He told Nancy that day, because she had some hits, and he said, Did you drop a note to that certain program director or disc jockey?" And she said, "No." He said, "Always do that.
Well,
always make them know that you appreciate what they're doing."
Yeah, well, if anyone knew the business inside and out, it had to be Frank Sinatra. And so many of his records, I put them on today, and they sound just as fresh, and they're just timeless records.
Yeah, we were listening at the house, we were listening to Nancy on Sirius. Mm-hmm. Her show plays on Sunday, and I didn't even realize we were listening to her show actually. But when I heard her speak on the radio, I said, "This is your show?" Because she always plays my records on that show. I mean, always. And I said, "I've been listening to your dad forever, and every time I hear him, he becomes more brilliant as a singer, and I hear something different each and every time. How in heck did he do this? How did he do that?" But with Frank, it was just there. Nothing was forced. He just had a gift that was beyond any other singer.
Yeah.
Any other singer.
Yeah, genius, really.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I mean, I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the greatest singer. I told her, I said, "I don't think there ever will be. There never has been since your dad. I don't think there ever will be a singer as good as your dad."
Now, when you were approached for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, they kind of wanted a Sinatra-esque type of character, and I heard you weren't even interested at first.
Yeah, they wanted somebody who, like, I used to hang quite a bit with Sammy and Frank and Nancy Jr. at the Sands Lounge in Vegas. After Frank's show, we'd see Frank's show and we'd hang out there. So they wanted somebody who kind of was familiar with the Rat Pack. Right. And, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to play a singer. I turned it down 3 times. I said, "Let me play a Ferengi." Anything, I said. I don't want to play a singer because I am a singer. But then my agent said, "Why don't you read the script? If you don't like it, then don't do it. If you like it." And I read the script, and a guy named Ira Bear, who's a dear friend now, had written the script, and I loved it. And I called my agent and I said, "Okay, I want to do this. I want to do it for sure."
Was it a one-shot? Because it turned into a recurring character.
It was going to be a one-shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did about, 13 episodes or so.
And now I bet you, Star Trek fans are unlike any other fandom in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And, they must go crazy when they see you around it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I go crazy when I see them. Because what's interesting, they had the 50th anniversary in Vegas. They had it all over the country, but Vegas was the big show. And I'm there, and it's amazing. There was this young couple, and they said, "Oh, we're so happy you're here, blah, 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 and this is our honeymoon." I said, "Your what?" "Your honeymoon? You're at a Star Trek convention for your honeymoon? You got to be kidding me." As Bill Shatner would say, "Get a life."
Well, they were going to go to their room later in the hotel, but we won't get into it.
I hope. Yeah, without any cutouts of Bill Shatner.
Now, if people want to catch up with you and what you're doing, where would they go?
To my website, to jamesdarren.com.
And it's all there?
Yeah. I just did a movie, by the way.
Oh, tell us about that.
Yeah, it was. This is so bizarre. I'm out on a street, a famous road called Mulholland Drive.
Sure.
And they're loading my Porsche, my little Speedster, onto a flatbed because I'm having it serviced, and they're going to take it down to the service shop because I don't like to drive on the street. I'm too afraid somebody might hit me. And sure enough, Ira Bear, the same guy that got me into Star Trek, is driving by. He slams on the brakes, turns around, and we start talking. He tells me he's doing this movie, and blah, blah, blah. And I had a premonition. I said, something's going to come out of this meeting. And sure enough, about 3 days later, he called me and said, the guy that was going to do this role dropped out. Would you read the script and tell me if you would do it? And I did read it, and with Ira involved, it made it even more desirable for me to do. And so I did the role. It's pretty cool. It stars Harry Dean Stanton and David Lynch. You know David Lynch?
Oh, of course.
Twin Peaks.
Sure.
Well, David's acting in it.
Really?
Yeah, and he's a wonderful actor. And Harry Dean Stanton's a wonderful actor. And Ed Begley Jr.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
A whole bunch of really good actors,
Yeah.
I said, why the heck did you hire me?
Oh, no, you're up there. You're up there. Well, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to this. It was a great thrill to speak with you.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
And thank you, sir. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Dave. Take care, buddy.